Hi guys, and the chainsaws are going to be going probably the whole time we're doing this. I wanted to point out my visitors to the yard. You know how I love squirrels and I love raccoons. Well, now I have moles, which is a mixed bag. I like them and sometimes I don't like them. Look at what they've been doing to the side yard. See how they lift all that up? They're under the ground and they're looking for earthworms. Look at this over here. See, and let me bring you out front. Want to pause it for a second? Here we are. Look at this. See how there's this little tunnel right underneath the lawn? That's because there are earthworms there. Moles don't break the soil very much. They do make a little hole right there, but if it was a gopher going after roots of things, it would make a big volcano-like pile of dirt. Even though that one looks really big, that's still a mole hole. This is how a gopher hole would be. So they're not eating my plants. They're eating earthworms in my front lawn. I don't use any chemicals on my front lawn or any poison. It's all natural. And that weed, I'm going to dig that weed out myself. I don't use any weed killer. But the moles are going all along here. And they must be finding, the soil's kind of moist, they must be finding some earthworms in there. This is one that after a heavy rain drowned in my gutter in the front yard. Some of you have seen it, some of you have not. I had Mike the taxidermist freeze dry it, so it's like beef jerky inside. It's just hard. All the organs are in there. They didn't take them out. And it's the softest animal I've ever felt in my life. It's so soft you can't even feel it. There's no texture. But look at the silkiness of its fur. And look at its little dirt digging claws. And that nose that could smell stuff that we could never smell. And remember the video we saw, the Beauty of Ugly and the star-nosed mole? Each one of those stars smells as well as this one. That one must even have a better sense of smell. It's a beautiful little animal. It has eyes, but its eyesight is very poor. This is a female because there's a nipple right there. And it doesn't have a place to grow spark of life right here. I love this little guy. I've had it for a long time, and a little gal, and I'm sorry that she died, but I'm the right person to find her because then I can do a lesson with you about it. So I'll put her back in the Ziploc bag to keep her safe. All the children who have held this over so many years, and none of you broke the feet off or the tail. No kindergarten ever did that. I was so proud of you when you guys held her, and you were so careful, and she's still perfect. So someday when one of you becomes the science teacher at Pinewood, when I'm too old and I don't know what's going on anymore, I'll leave these things for you so that you can teach about them too. And maybe you'll watch these little videos that Monica helps me make so that it will remind you of what you can teach about them. Now, I'm not going to do anything about this mole. I think it'll finally go on its way over to Oliver's grandparents' house and lift up their garden a little bit. But the nice part is after we had the drought, the ground was so hard, rock hard. And when it rained again, a lot of moles made their way back into our neighborhood and started lifting the soil so that the water would percolate down and you could actually water things. Plants looked better. The moles did us a favor. Now they make my lawn look a little bit weird, but I have an appreciation for them, and they sure are the cutest little things that I have ever seen. This is a full-grown one, so I can't imagine. I mean, the babies must be so cute. I've never seen a baby. And like I said, I just found her right here in the gutter, right here. And I think what she did was she tried to get a drowning earthworm after a big rain, and she just fell in, and the water just, and drowned her. But she's a beauty. And when we get back to school, you can tell the difference between her and a gopher, because up in that great horned owl that's hanging in the classroom, there's a gopher in her beak. I have a little baby gopher. And strangely enough, I found that the same way, drowned in the gutter after a storm. So they must crawl out because there's too much water under the ground, and then they hit that river and it does them in. So look around your yard. Samantha had the gopher. Hi, Samantha. And maybe you have those, and maybe you have moles. Keep an eye out for them. If you have great blue herons anywhere on your property, this is one of their favorite foods. They will, here, I'll get out of the way of the car. They will wait and watch the ground move and spear it and flip them up in the air and eat them. They like to eat moles, they like to eat gophers. So I don't know how rural, that means out in the country you are. I know Artie is, and I know a few other kids live in the mountains, but that's a perfect food for them, and that would be quite a meal. That's a lot of meat, it's pretty heavy. Ever since I've been a little girl, I found huge surprises in this yard. I was never bored. My mom said she never really had to buy a lot of toys for me. I didn't ask for any, except for troll dolls. You know how much I like those. I didn't want Barbies or any of that stuff. She did buy me a little plastic horse, and it's pretty special, and I still have it. And I would make little horse barns outside and take a shoebox and cover it with mud and put some straw on the top of it and just have a really good time. But I enjoyed making my own toys the very best, even my own Play-Doh. So that's a kind of a treat to have store-bought Play-Doh that I can sniff because I love the smell. But when I'd be back here playing, Mom had blackberries back here, and we would dig and loosen the soil, add some animal manure so that the berries would grow bigger, and her berries were so sweet and delicious. And I would find stuff. I'd find rocks right here, right in this soil, right here. I still find stuff. So when I was really little, I found this black rock. First I thought it was glass, because when you hold it up to the light, you can see through it a bit. Can you hear the baby chickadees right there? They're just getting fed. Can you hear them? How cute, how cute. I found this right here. And then later on, I found another piece of volcanic rock, obsidian, made by fire, comes out of a volcano. We don't have volcanoes here. And then I found another. And I just kept finding these shards, these little pieces. This is the littlest one. And anybody else, I think, except for you, because you are so curious, anybody else might have overlooked these, but I know Pinewood students wouldn't. You guys are pretty good about finding great rocks. The day I found this was my best find. It was right here where I'm sitting. Look at this piece. Only this one has something really special about it. Do you notice how up this side it looks curved, as if it's been chipped away? It was. This is a broken spear point from an Ohlone person making them right here. Hundreds of years ago, an Ohlone person was sitting here, and they were taking this obsidian that they traded with the Native Americans about 3 hours drive north, the Kuroks, who lived by volcanoes that blew this kind of obsidian out of it. And this one was kind of a dud. It was a boo-boo. It didn't work well. And they were chipping, and this side came out well. Let me put this back in here. But this side went, uh-oh. It probably had a crack in it, you know, and sometimes they worked and sometimes they didn't, and the end chipped off too. But that is unmistakably an Ohlone spear point. It's one of my cherished possessions. It goes in my Nature Keeper box, and I hope that every time I scrape the weeds here and try to keep it nice and tidy, I always hope that I'll find another one. I'm sure there's more here. Some of the neighbors also found some round cobblestones that we never saved because we didn't think they were anything important. One side, they were just cobblestones like creek rocks, was all black. We know now that those went around the Ohlone campfires. And we also, on the other side of Ollie's grandparents' house, because that's where his grandparents are. Hi, Oliver. You poor guy. I'm using you every time. Don't be shy. On the other side of their house is the big farmhouse. And all of our houses were built on land of their orchards. But before them, the Ohlone sat under a huge bay tree. Remember the headache tree, kindergarten, that medicine-y smelling leaf that I gave to you? And they sat under that bay tree, and they made these too. And other neighbors remembered finding them as children too. So as kids my age come back and buy their parents' homes and move in and we're all back together again, we're just older, it's really fun to share these experiences and remember finding things in our yards that we didn't know what they were then. I have a lot of different kinds of obsidian here. And I talked to a lady who's a volcanologist. That's a person who studies volcanoes. We didn't have one right here, but of course in Northern California, Oregon, and the state of Washington, they have them. And these are some different kinds. She can tell which volcano it came from by its color, its stripes, or a better word is striations, whether it's bubbly or not, what mineral colors it has in it. Look at this piece of obsidian. See how it has a little bit of iron in it with the red? And this one, it's called snowflake obsidian. Look at that. That one's from a different place. And this one is the very special one. This one is the color of root beer, and it's very hard to find. But she knew where all of these were from, and she said, oh, but this one is not obsidian. She said this is volcano rock for sure, but she said obsidian flows from, and it's a dried lava, or magma it's called when it's underground, and it dries quickly. I'm sorry, slowly. But this gets blasted up into the air and dries very fast, and it becomes very light and bubbly. Sometimes your mom or dad may use a piece of volcanic rock to rub the calluses, the rough skin off their feet or hands, and that's called pumice. That's a light bubbly rock that gets shot up in the air and dries very quickly as it shoots through the air with bubbles in it. But sometimes you get little pieces that blow out, and these are bubbly rocks. But in these pieces, if I shone a really bright light on it, some of them would look lime green. And from that you get, they're called lava bombs. I'm not making this up. Lava bombs. And you get my birthstone. It's called peridot. It looks like the word says peridot, but it's lime green. You cut it like a diamond, and it makes my birthstone. I have earrings out of these too. Some people call this olivine. And most of the Earth's mantle, that means its crust that's very thick, that goes around the heat layer in the center, like a warm muffin that'll never cool off. It has a lot of this in it. So I like to know that this came shooting out of a volcano to be cut into a beautiful stone to make a ring for my hand. And I have the ribbon on it so I wouldn't lose it in the basket. I was afraid I'd lose it. That's pretty fun. How cool is that to find these things in my own backyard? And I'm thinking, you have to have things like that too. Samantha had a gopher coming up on a video she sent me, digging a hole, and she had a queen bumblebee just like mine. And she showed me that she planted a lot of flowers that hummingbirds love, just like mine, and showed me one that I don't have that I need to put in, called salvia. So I'm proud of you guys if you spend time out in your yard and you use the nature to kill the boredom. I was never bored when I was a little girl. I had something to do, a plan every day, something to do every day out in my yard. And even if you live in a condominium or an apartment, a lot of times you can go outside and there's soil and planting around the grounds, and you can find awesome things there. They're planting beautiful plants now. Take care.